everyone, my name is Willow Rose Moondancer. I make videos here on YouTube about Wicca, and I also have a blog called Wiccans.Wicca.com. Today I wanted to make a video that I feel like I should have made a long time ago, but I guess I never thought of it until I started reading Harmony Nice's book called Wicca. She talked about it a bit in her book, and then it just kind of dawned on me that maybe it's a topic that I should also be talking about. So I want to talk about today about casting a sacred circle. There are lots of different opinions out there on how important casting a sacred circle is, and there are lots of different opinions on how to do it. So today I kind of want to talk about why we cast a sacred circle, how I feel about sacred circles and how I view their importance, and then I want to talk about the different methods of how to cast a sacred circle, but also my personal methods. So first of all, sacred circles are like, I've referred to it as kind of like a force field around you made of energy in a previous video. They are self-created using energy from within you and around you to make a safe place for while you do ritual or spell work or anything really that you feel would benefit from having a sacred circle. Essentially, they keep all negative energy out and they keep all the positive energy in. I like to use them specifically for when I'm doing spell work, or I'll use them during rituals sometimes, not all the time though. A lot of people, I think, feel that sacred circles are 100% necessary, and it's something that you shouldn't take lightly, and you should be using them as much as possible when working with energy. And I agree to an extent. I can completely see why that they would be important, and I can understand why people don't take them lightly. But at the same time, especially when you're doing impromptu workings, it's a lot of work to put up a sacred circle. So I think it is something that you should use your judgment on, and if you feel that it's needed, then you should do it. But if you feel that what you're doing doesn't necessarily require it, then I feel that that's fine. Sometimes when I've done really fast, impromptu, like not spells, I haven't used it. But if I'm doing something that I've planned and I've taken the time to really think about, I will use a sacred circle during that time. So when it comes to various methods, I know that some people like to use their besom or a broom to sweep away the negative energies around the circle. Some like to use holy water around their circle. Some like to use salt. Some people call the corners as they're making their sacred circle. Some people do it after. Same with calling upon the divine and deities. Some will call upon them during the making of the circle, and some will do it after. Personally, I like to call upon the elements and any deities and anybody else that I want to work with after I've created my circle. Call me paranoid, but I feel that if I am calling upon, say, Gaia to help me create my sacred circle, if there's anything negative lurking around, it's not gonna be difficult for them to manipulate me and make me feel that it is Gaia who is helping me rather than this negative energy, and therefore I'm letting this negative energy create a circle that is now full of negative energy, but then also join me in my sacred circle. So I like to make my sacred circle alone, and then afterwards, when I know that it has been created with only positive energy and there's only positive energy within the circle, then I like to invite people, because then I know that if something negative is trying to influence or manipulate me, that it is not going to be able to get through my circle. Only the deities and the elements that I am calling upon will be able to enter within. That's my input. I might be paranoid. Who's to say? I guess you are. But along with that, the way that I like to make my sacred circle is I like to use sage, and I like to use my athame. Some people will use their athame, some people will use a wand. Using sage, I think, is pretty standard practice. At some point, I would like to incorporate a besom within it. I don't have one of those right now. Sometimes if I really feel it necessary, I'll just use my household broom, but typically I just use the sage and the athame. I know that the Wiccan Rede makes reference to using 3 different methods to make your sacred circle. I believe. I should actually look that up. So I looked up the Wiccan Rede and I'm reading off of it now on my computer, and it says, "For tread the circle thrice about to keep unwelcome spirits out." So obviously, like, everybody can take what they want from the Wiccan Rede, and just because you don't do everything to the Rede to a T doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't working. But that is something to keep in mind if you would like to follow the Rede more closely. And it is something that I would like to incorporate more of. I like to keep it simple, stupid when I am doing anything that comes to my practice. I don't like any big complex things. I like to keep it as dumbed down as possible, because if I have to do a whole bunch of work just to do something, that to me feels like a chore, and I don't want my faith to feel like a chore. So I always find the most simplest but effective route to get the job done. So I have brought some of my materials that I would use to make a sacred circle, so I can kind of show you what I would do. So firstly, it's really important to note that I always go right. That might look like left in the camera, but to me, this is my right. When I am creating the circle, and then when I'm taking it down, I go to the left. That is what the Wiccan Rede says to do, so that is what I like to try to do. So the first thing that I do when I am making my circle is I will sage. Something that I do sometimes and not all the times is when I really feel like I want to try and get 3 times around the circle, I'll sage around at the beginning. Then I will create the circle with my athame, which makes me pass around it again. And then I will go around the circle once more with the sage, and that's sometimes how I get the 3 passes, even if they're not different things that I'm doing. But this is actually a new thing of sage. It's sage and cedar mixed together. I haven't used it yet, so you will be the first to see how well it lights. It looks a lot different than the sage that I have had in the past, and the sage that I've had before, I have had a really hard time with getting it to light and stay like smoldering. It goes out super quick, so hopefully this will go better. It feels a lot drier than my sage does, so hopefully that will help. So, no, I should light it more. So, first things first is I would go all around in a circle. Normally I would be standing and I would pass all the way around me. Normally I would walk in the circle. I wouldn't just brush it behind me and call it a day. And I will go around until it feels right, and I will often sage myself as well, and sometimes like the tools that I am using. And then I would put that to the side, flip it over so I'm not having any sparks or anything on my bed. I got some sage on the bed. And then I would take my athame which needs to be washed a bit. Anyway, it looks like this, and I would just close my eyes and like really envision the energy that's about to come out of my athame, and then I would point it this way in front of me, and I would walk around the entire circle holding it, really visualizing an energy. I like to envision it like physically as like this white bright light almost like coming out of my athame, and I will bring it around. Normally I'd be standing once again, and I would walk around in the circle, really focusing on pushing the energy out of my athame. And then when I've gone all around, I also like to create above me, because to me, the circle is not just like a 2D circle. It's really like a 3D sphere that goes all around. So I will even point it towards the ground and like bring my arm back and go like this. And I just keep going around, making like a web of energy around me. So I am the center of like this ball of energy. And I just keep doing that until I feel that I am done. And normally I'll end it there. But sometimes if I feel called to, I will go around with my sage once again. So that is how I create a sacred circle. It's not by any means the only way to create a sacred circle. You could do it completely different, or you could add more steps. You could be calling upon the divine in the elements while you're doing this. A lot of people like to call upon the four corners as they're creating their circle. I like to do that afterwards, but that is just how I do things, and I'm sure some people will tell me that that's wrong, but that's how I do it. Anywho, that's really all that I have for today. I've been thinking about making this kind of like a little series on here, talking about like all the different steps all the way up to doing a ritual or up to doing a spell or something like that. So starting off today with the sacred circle, and then maybe the next video I would like go about how I would call upon the divine, and then maybe another video about the kind of things that I would set up on my altar, and then maybe some videos on different rituals or spells that you could do. But yeah, let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Make sure you check out my blog, wiccans.wicked.com, as I make 2 posts a week, one on Wednesday and one on Friday. And make sure you subscribe to me here, because I make videos every Monday and Thursday. And until next time, blessed be.